Sophia is here. Welcome to another episode of EmpowerU, the podcast where we believe that each and every individual has an amazing story to share. The story that can inspire, motivate us. And today I'm super excited because our guest today is someone who personally shaped my own musical journey. He's my musical piano instructor and also extremely talented Uyghur pianist, Kaisar Anwar. His dedication to music started at the age of 5, and today we'll uncover more about his artistic and personal journey. Kaisar, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We can start. I know your story here and there, but today we'll uncover more a little bit about your artistic journey, personal journey. Your journey from Qaramay to United States is nothing short of remarkable. You started playing piano at the age of 5.
Mhm.
At 5, I think I was still trying to figure out how to use a slide in the playground. But what drew you to piano? And who was the one who was like, wait, this kid has actually got a talent?
Mhm.
Who was the one who discovered your talent and helped you to develop it or improve it?
It's a funny story, actually. I officially started at 5, but according to my mom's story, when I was like 2.5 years old, maybe, I was laying on the bed and there was a music coming from the radio, which my father uses. And then the music had some distinct rhythmic pulse in it. And for some reason, I started to stomp my legs on the bed at the exact rate
Oh, wow.
with the music that is coming from the radio. So my father immediately realized that I had a good rhythmic feeling, because that's one of the most important elements to take the career in a musical path. So my father is the very first best teacher in my life. And then at the age of 4, he got me a little Casio keyboard, electronic keyboard. And that's how I, started playing on the simple keyboard. It had like the accompaniment on the left, some rhythms, and then I would play the melody on the right. And this sort of inspired a lot of youth during that time. Like that was during the 90s, And people found out that at the year 1994, my sister came to the world. We are 5 years difference in between. And because my parents were busy with their work and everything, sometimes both of my parents had to go. And I would be home alone with my sister. So what I did is, like in our culture, we had this cradle. We call it bushuk.
Yeah.
And my sister is in there, and I'm here, and I would rock the cradle, and I would practice like this.
Wow. Oh my gosh, so cute.
Yeah, so that was recorded with the story from my father's side, and of course my mom told the story about it, and eventually that got onto the journals in our hometown. And immediately that just raised the motivation in the kids the same age as me, and everybody started buying keyboards, learning music, and eventually at the age of 6, my father got me the very first upright piano, full-size piano. And that's how I started learning. And at first I wasn't really motivated. My father was always the one that is in charge, prioritizing the practicing schedule. And he's a person with a perfectionist ideology. So, and very sharp ear. He wasn't a professional musician per se. He didn't play piano or anything. But he played this instrument called khushtar. Khushtar, it's kind of like the rijek, like this, it's a 4-string instrument. But it's very nicely designed. And many of our Uyghur followers would know what khushtar instrument is. And he played that very, very often with his friends. And he played dutar as well. He sang, and he is an amazing professional dancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Of your traditional dances?
Traditional dances, yeah. He did dances with many different like choreographers, and he even choreographed his own dances. So yeah, he's an amazing dancer. One thing that I didn't get from him is his dancing skills. I'm a terrible dancer.
Who knows? Everyone tells I'm terrible dancer, but when you actually see,
you never know, right?
Yeah.
So that's how it just started off.
Yeah.
You know, without any force of any kind.
Yeah.
It started off, and then my first teacher was a Chinese teacher at in our city, and I happened to finish the beginner books very, very, very fast, just learning it quickly. I don't know how I did it. I still today I think about it and I have no idea. I can't explain it. And eventually the teacher said, you know, it's time for him to find a higher level teacher. And that's when my father decided that he's going to look for a new teacher in the capital city of our hometown, which is Urumqi. And that's when we found Tumuris Musabayov. She's half Tatar and half Uyghur. So I started studying with her, and that's how it took off.
Yeah, no, I feel like parents and the surroundings play a very big part.
Yes,
I was always thinking, looking back at the musicians, artists, I was always thinking, like, is it a natural skill or is it something that can come eventually? Like, what do you think about it? Like, should the person has a talent, natural talent, I'd say, or is it something that can be developed in the future, even if you don't have someone who can influence you, as is in your case with your father? Because I remember myself when I was little, and my mom, I mean, in our family, nobody was a musician. We had some, my mom's uncle who was an, famous artist in Tajikistan, but she really wanted me to be in art. She was trying to put me in ballet dance and piano, but I was always very resistant. I was like, nope, it's not my thing. I mean, sometimes I feel like, is it a good thing that parents kind of a little bit like push their kids? Or, and yeah, what do you think in general? Is it a skill, or is it something that can be developed, and how parents should approach this kind of thing?
I agree with the parents' influential factors. It's very, very important. And even in my current life where I teach young kids, there are a lot of kids under the age of 10 that is coming to the lesson with either their father or their mother. And they sit in the lesson. Some of them, they take notes so that they're aware of the progress. Right? My father was like that too, because in every single lesson, like this, here is where my teacher would be, and here's my father.
Wow.
Literally, this is like this. It felt a little bit of a pressure, but he was always very helpful. Whenever I don't understand certain things, for example, let's take my first teacher as an example. He spoke in Chinese. I had a very, very low Chinese skills. I was a little kid. What do I know? And he would translate what he would say. And with that, I sort of built my foundation. And then after that, facing Tumuris Musabayov, who is one of the best teachers in the world, in my opinion. And that was easy because of the foundation that I've built in the past. So I believe that parents and the amount of dedication that parents put is really, it's really, really important.
Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit about your journey, from your hometown to United States. I mean, you left home in 2007 and six,
Yes.
And haven't returned since. I mean, that's crazy. So, I mean, if you feel comfortable, you can share some of the reasons why you left your country, your hometown, and what was the reason that didn't really allow you to go back and visit your family. And what are some of the last memories you have about your home country and hometown, and how do you hold on to those memories?
Yeah, it's a big story, but I'll try to keep it detailed, but not too long. I left in 2006. I clearly remember the date, June 20th. It was like midnight, 12 o'clock. I clearly remember this because I arrived in Chicago, and then from Chicago, people picked me up, and then Michigan and Chicago, they're not far away. So the Interlochen Arts Academy was the summer camp that I decided to apply for while I was in my hometown. My teachers encouraged me to apply to the summer camp program, which is 6 weeks long summer festival. They accepted all the talented students that have potential skill sets in piano and in music in general. So I arrived 12 midnight, and they picked me up. I had almost basically no knowledge of English whatsoever. And I came to the United States, participated in the festival, performed, and had many master classes, and eventually slowly built my English speaking skills and listening skills as well. And eventually, one of my friends in Interlaken, after little before completing the summer camp, he said, "You should apply to the high school program here, because what are you going to do if you go back? It's just summer camp. You didn't learn much, so take the opportunity." So he helped me to fill out the application. I had a ticket to go back home. It was go back to Beijing. But fortunately, the teacher who I met in my hometown, his name is Richard Mercier, who passed away in 2013. He was the one that influenced me and encouraged me to stay. And he said, "Don't go. Come to Georgia, near Atlanta. It's pretty far away. I'll buy your flight ticket. Come. I have Steinway grand piano. You can practice. You don't have to worry about anything, and we'll wait for the result of the application. If you get accepted, I'll send you off, and if you don't, then I'll send you off to Beijing." I said, "Okay," because I trust him. My parents know him, and my teachers know him as well. Many Uyghur people knew him because he came to Urumqi and different parts of China in general to give a masterclass. And when he came to my hometown and I played for him, and then he praised me a lot, and he said, "This has been like a treasure, finding a treasure, So he gave me his name card and said, "If you ever come to America, I'm there, and I'll always support you and everything." So I said, "Okay." So that's the path that I took, and then about close to like sometime in late July and beginning of August, I got the result and said, "Hey, you got accepted, full scholarship. There's a dormitory that you can stay." And it was one of the best news ever. So I was like, okay, so no going back. And then I went to Interlaken in 2006 September. In 2007, I went back once. Because during that time, everything was pretty chill, pretty relaxed, calm. 2007 in May, just for the summer, I went back and I gave a report recital, kind of like, I went to study and here's what I've learned, type of thing. So I gave my recital, very successful. Hundreds of people came, and it was full house. Even people at the entry door, they were waiting to be, to be seated. It was that crowded. I couldn't believe it. And after the recital, so many people came up to me and said, like, "Oh, could you please teach our kids?" Like this is like kind of like flash memory that I'm having. Everything. I clearly remember everything. And unfortunately, I had to turn down everybody because after the summer is over, I had to come back again. So I told everybody, I was like, "Okay, I'm going to come back at the end of 2008." And then so okay, we'll wait for you. So I went, finished. I did like junior and senior year instead of starting from freshman, because the school credit that I had from my hometown had already overwritten. So I didn't have to repeat the first 2 years. So I finished, and of course, as a usual thing that we do in America, we apply for colleges and universities. So I started applying, and San Francisco Conservatory and Eastman and of course Juilliard and everything. So San Francisco accepted me, and I had no chance to go back at all, because once that's done, I have to start. What do we do? Like, we go to the city and we start to find housings and
Yeah. I
all
mean, it's
that.
a journey of the student.
Yeah,
Pretty
exactly.
much, especially if you're immigrants.
Exactly. So I reported to my family and I said, I got into a college. And they said, oh, okay, stay, study, finish everything, and then come back. And little did I know that that was probably the last time that I said goodbye. And 2008 until 2011, about 3 years, I studied in San Francisco Conservatory, but financially it was way too difficult. You know how expensive San Francisco is. And not to mention rent, food, everything. Even though the scholarship was somewhat, about 80% scholarship, but still, I came from a very kind of a lower class family, so we couldn't afford much, and I felt bad asking my parents to send me money, monthly. So I decided to transfer. And guess who? The Richard Mercier, the professor that encouraged me to contact him.
Encouraged you.
Yeah, and he said, come to Georgia in this school. I do not accept any students, but you're going to be my student. And you're going to study here. And then you will apply for a master's, and then etc. etc. I was like, okay. Came to Georgia, and then 2013 came. He passed away. He was performing on the stage, and he just collapsed. Yeah, it was on the stage.
Wow.
He was like like one of the most perfect role model that you could ever search for. He ate healthy. He woke up in the early, and he slept early. He's clean and everything that you could ask for in a human being. He's kind enough. Even during the month of Qurban, he would bring lamb, and he would cook. He's not a Muslim or anything, but he supported that tradition of mine. He respected the tradition, right? And this is why he is loved by our folks and Uyghur folks back home. And when he passed away, everybody was so heartbroken in my hometown. And they sent like grieving letters, and so that went just terrible loss. And I felt like I lost a father figure, because let me be honest, financially I was struggling, and he was helping me with the finances. And linguistically he was helping. And when I didn't want to stay in my housing environment, he was the one that said, come live in our house. We have a basement, Steinway grand piano. What else, So, and I studied with him, and I did a lot of research at his place. I practiced a lot, and that is when he introduced me to many pianists that I have never heard of, such as Martha Argerich, Richter, Arkady Volodos, Arau, Corto, these names that any professional pianist would hear, and they say, oh, like those are legends, I never knew about them until I came to the United States. And so yeah, I really miss him, and he's the reason that I moved to Georgia. But in 2013, he passed away. What's there for me to do? I didn't want to study with anyone else, so I said, transfer again. So I transferred to Florida State University to finish my bachelor's. And
why Florida?
Why Florida? Because in order for me to transfer, I had to apply for different locations, and then there had to be a backup school. I applied to Juilliard and like all the top schools as well, but you can never run the risk of not being able to get accepted to any of these schools.
Yeah.
So while Florida, not to saying that it is a weak school or anything, but it certainly is slightly easier than any of the top the prestigious schools. So I applied to Florida, got in, and the teacher was absolutely amazing, Reed Gainsford. And he also knew about the passing of Richard Mercier, and studied with him and continued the education and finished my bachelor's. And then that is when I met Boris Berman, who was the professor at Yale University. So he came to Florida State University to give a master class. So during that time, I was going through some personal struggles, life and all that. And my professor said, go play for him. You never know what's going to happen. And I said, okay. I didn't know who Boris Berman was. And I did research, and I found out how monumental that person is. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I played for the recital. I played for the masterclass, and surprisingly, he loved it. I'm not even kidding. He started to praise again. I was like, what is it? Am I doing something right? Like, is it something about the way I play, or is it like the aura or charisma, or what is it? Character? Couldn't figure out. I was like, okay, I guess I practiced hard. So after the masterclass, I approached him. I said, I'm about to reach the end of the bachelor's degree. I want to apply for a master's degree in different schools, and Yale is one of the best options. And he said, contact me, and then we'll figure out. And I said, okay. So contacted, applied, got the audition opportunity, and I came to Yale, and I also applied for Juilliard as well. And the audition was really amazing. It was a room like this, and the piano was here, and all the piano faculty members were sitting like in the one room.
Wow, a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. And I performed the piece that I played for the masterclass to show that, okay, you've taught me in the masterclass, and this is how much I've improved. He loved it, and everybody loved it. And then that same day in the evening, again, 12 p.m.-ish, like 12 a.m., like, midnight, he calls me. He said, Kaisar, did you get an acceptance letter from other schools? I said, yes, Juilliard gave me the offer, but I'm still deciding. He said, you have a full ride here, full scholarship, you don't have to pay, and you're going to be in my studio, so you can make the decision right now. And I said, yes.
Of course, yes.
So that is when I came to Yale, 2015 until 17. And one of the best experiences and the best time of my life was at Yale, because it's a whole different world, Plus, New Haven is a beautiful city. It's a university town. But during the education, time period while I'm studying there, I totally ignored, or I was unaware of the situation that was happening back home, which I'm going to talk about it later. But because of that, all that, combined together, education, trying to survive, transferring from one school to another to maintain the legal residency, everything started to become a reason why I didn't go back.
Yeah. No, that's fascinating. I'm hearing about all this, and it's mainly about people, right? Networking, and you going out and actually reaching out to people, not being scared. Because many people are coming from our cultures. We are very probably closed off, and I can tell from my own personal experience when I came to United States. It was all about networking. People were like, oh, ask this, go and ask this, and go ask this. And I was really closed off, but you actually building that connection is everything here in the United States.
Absolutely.
So, we started a little bit about your, home country, and on one sense you were having this, very good opportunities, people who were playing really a role model for you, and you had another part of you, and you also mentioned you were having personal struggles, and you were separated from your family. So when you actually got to know what was going on in your home country, how were you balancing those two extremes? So were there any time you were feeling maybe guilty that you are here having those opportunities and that political situation was going on in your country? How did you feel, and what kept you doing what you're doing, and what kept you motivated through all those years?
There is a saying that goes, don't believe it until you see it. I was the victim of that, honestly speaking. At that time, I was like, yeah, okay, I guess, it's just what the government is doing. Basically, that's what my parents advised me to do. They're like, Ignore the news. Don't, because government, it's their job to do what they need to do, and then you do what you need to do. Continue studying, ignore the news, don't pay attention. And then because there's bad people, they said, there's bad people, they're just trying to handle that, and you should worry about your education. Alas. So I listened to my parents, I listened to their advice. So I took their advice, and throughout my Yale education, I basically didn't really pay attention to anything. So when that news came out, at first I really did not believe it. I was like, I can still go back, right? I can still go back and reunite with my family, right? Like, be with my. It's been how many years? Like that time, 8-9 years. 2017, 10 years. Living up, staying apart from your own family members for more than a year is devastating. So 10 years is like psychologically twisting, And I was eager to go back, but when I heard that news, I just couldn't believe it, and I was.
Which was?
Like,
what news was that?
The news was about the police force, the government police force of China, gradually increasing their pressure and arresting the citizens without any reasons whatsoever, and locking up so many young men, and due to political situations and everything, which I had no idea what it was about at that time. And because there's nothing that I did wrong for me to not understand that, because my focus was school, practicing and teaching and learning. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to get involved in that. But eventually, as an artist, inevitably you're going to get involved in it somehow. Because now that I think of it, when we think of Beethoven, for example, in regards to the Napoleon, when we think of Shostakovich, Prokofiev, and Rachmaninoff even, in regards to the Stalin regime, all of these, great, or Chopin when he escaped Poland and then lived in France due to the situation in Poland and German and everything. So all of that started to occur to me little by little, because my story is almost the same as the story of any of these, composers. I'm living abroad. I cannot go back, even though I am indirectly being hit by what's happening back home. Still, it is impossible to avoid it. So in the end, in 2017, after the graduation, I decided to take the opportunity to do OPT, practical training. Is that what it is? Yeah. So during that time, I started to do research. And when I started doing the research, it was way worse than I ever imagined. Writers, artists, sportsmen, singers, musicians, many of these people who had done nothing against the government were being locked up. So I told myself, okay, if they're locking up those type of people, who am I to undermine the situation? So I decided to not go back, because it would jeopardize not only the fact that I most likely will not be able to see my family, but people will not be able to see me again. So I didn't want to run the risk. So I decided to stay here, and eventually found my way through different paths and connections, and eventually I got the permanent residency, and now I'm here. Do I regret not going back? Yeah, I regret not going back, because if I were back home, I probably would have been a way different person by now, But perhaps I would probably end up being an artist who sings and praises the government of the communist regime, and just becoming a puppet, basically, which I don't want to do. And I don't think my parents would be proud of me singing these type of songs and becoming their puppet and dressing in certain ways. I just didn't want to be one of them. I wanted to be a revolutionist, and I think the point that the communist regime doesn't understand is the difference between revolutionists and terrorists. There's a big difference, you know. Terrorists are for stupid people. Revolutionists is for the developed mindset, you know. So I at least wanted to become, you know, even though I don't shout or, you know, go to the riots or protest, through music and the fact that I sacrificed the chance of seeing my family just to stay here and continue to be who I have to be, which is, you know, my cultural identity, maintaining my cultural identity. That's what I'm proud of, and that's why I do not regret taking that decision. But at the same time, I wish that it was not like this.
Yeah.
You know, I wish that I could go back to reunite, but now, unfortunately, I can't. But yeah, during the year 2016 onwards until 2022, it was really, really heavy. And I think anybody who has the access to internet could search up and find plenty of information about it. And you cannot ignore it. You cannot lie about it. And it's just right there, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, generally that's the background.
No, we live in a crazy world right now.
Yeah.
Like one side is like, you know, destroying the nations and all that. Of course, it's a very hard topic. You know, people are going through something, and I know, like being in music, it's somehow like a personal, you know, universal language,
Yeah.
I would say, and you are trying to in your performances, you are trying to transfer those composers' intent and somehow probably you are using the music either as a form of refuge or the form of resistance.
Yes.
So I wanted to know, like, because classical music is more like into the Western culture, and your Uyghur heritage has, you know, the important part of your, you know, life. How do you merge them together? Do you ever feel like you're living in two different worlds, and how you kind of implement your own culture into your performances, maybe, or somehow into the art?
There's no visible answer for that. And I think it's important to mention the fact that I was fortunate enough to be on a public television when I was a kid. And that's when I started, you know, I got the so-called fame by singing. I had the electronic keyboard, Yamaha, my father bought me. That was like, I was on television at the age of 6.5, I think. And I started playing and singing at the same time.
Yeah.
I swear to God, today I watch it, until today, okay? I watched the video and I was playing on black keys instead of, you know, majority using the white keys. I have no idea how I did it. Even today, I try to imitate what I played on the black keys. It's not easy. It's really not easy. So because of that exposure, fortunately, I'm very thankful to God that many Uyghur people until today, they remember me. And they know, like, you know, oh, Kaisar Anwar, oh, the little kid who sang, you know, in front of the TV, you know, this little cute baby, blah, blah, blah. And I was wearing the cultural hat and the vest and like the outfits. All because of my father. He really highlighted the cultural accent. You know, the stage presence had to be very culturally rich. And yeah, because of that, even today in America, or any part of the world, basically, anywhere that has Uyghur community, they know me, which is both pleasuring to hear, but at the same time, it's a huge personal responsibility because, you know, they expect something from you when you become like that. You know, they expect you to speak up for something or stand up for something instead of running away from certain situations. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So this is one of the reasons that I, you know, decided to stay and stand up for the human rights, protection of the human rights back in my hometown. And because of that, unconsciously, the Western music and Uyghur music starts to merge itself when you sit on the Western instrument like piano and start to play Uyghur music. It sounds really, really easy, but to me, if I had to pick which one is priority, it's very, very difficult for me to answer. But I am thankful for the fact that I specifically focused on Western music theory and Western musical practice, performance practice, the art of piano playing. And through studying the classics, such as Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, all of those names, through studying the classics, I am now able to appreciate my cultural music to its depth. You see, because every music has its own theory, tonal theory, but the root always goes back to the Western classicism. Right? So that's why listening to Uyghur cultural songs now, it sounds much clearer and more transparent than compared to the time when I knew almost little about what music theory was, harmonic progressions, modulations, and all that. And I'm very thankful for the education system that I received here in America, especially at Yale. And without those backgrounds, I probably wouldn't be able to even sit at the piano and properly perform an Uyghur transcription that I've made without losing its authentic, the structure. Because we see a lot of these so-called remake or like the cover or transcriptions, arrangements. But most likely you're going to witness artists sort of stepping outside of the original authenticity and then adding too much of their own. That's something that I wanted to avoid. So this is where the merge thing comes in, somehow.
Yeah. Kaisar, I want to talk more about music, especially classic music, in the today world where everything is about social media, fast-paced, that entertainment. Classical music might be a little bit of our picture for especially young people. How do you see the future of classical music, and what role do you think you play in it?
I believe that we will return to a time where the appreciation of classical music is going to come back to its fullest. Here's why. As you see in social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, the perception of being perfect is becoming a priority right now. Yeah. Because you see that the photos, people, they put makeup on and then they have extra filter on top of it. And then for the music, they have auto-tune and digital to make sure that every pitch is absolutely perfect. Not all of the music industry is doing that, but there are cases like this. And that is, plus the availability of the digital devices where you can listen to Vienna Philharmonic, just with your phone. So at this time, we may not feel it, we may not see it, but eventually people are going to understand that there's no such thing as perfectionism in classical music. So I believe one day it's going to come back to its fullest appreciation.
Hopefully, because we recently were in the concert with one of my friends. We were in the concert of Tony Yen. He's a musician, and I was surprised how many young people were there in the hall. I'm like, okay, that's great that young people are appreciating classical music, appreciating piano, and that's I really hope that classical music stays as
Me too.
in that role, because music can be sometimes feel like a calm in the storm, especially classical music.
You're right.
So another question, I usually wonder, like, what my younger self would want, what advice would my younger self would want to hear from my older self, probably, like, because it's a very reflective question, and it sometimes reveals who we have become, especially after those choices and sacrifices you made, being separated from your country, from your family, and at the same time gaining that musical recognition
Mhm.
because you have a lot of international concerts. I wanted to know if we had a 16-year-old Kaisar sitting here with us today, what advice would you give him?
A lot, but I would say don't be scared. I was very a scared kid, you know. I didn't take risks, and I didn't seek for help because I always wanted to, and still sometime today, I always want to take care of things, handle things on my own. Even if I go starving, I wouldn't tell anybody. Even if I don't have anything, I wouldn't tell anybody. I would tell my 16-year-old self to, you know, seek for help. If you need help, look for it, ask, and don't be scared. Take risks. And second advice would be study and practice as much as you can. Learn languages, you know, all these things. Even though I can do them today, but it would have been better if I did it at that time. But reflecting on the past me, these are the advice that I would give, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did not like the fact that I was a very scared kid, you know, couldn't take risks.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I would say.
Oh, it's beautiful because I think I was thinking about it too before like we started the interview and I was working on this question. I asked this question myself, like what would I say to my younger self? I think one of the things I would say to just chill out and don't be like super, you know, caught up onto those, you know, fears and everything that we were going through, and also Bollywood movies. But I was just kidding. Your advice is definitely more, you know, meaningful. But next question I have is I think something that would probably complete our conversation today. What is the looking ahead? What is the vision, the bigger vision you see for yourself? How do you want people to remember you? And what is it's a lot of question in one, but I just want to know all of it because just being immigrant, I know what you were going through. I was a student, also having struggles, and I often think about these things, like, you know, and you being the pianist, you are, you know, performing, and many people know you, especially your community. If they're seeing you as some sort of cultural ambassador, I would want to know what is the vision you see for yourself, how you want those people to remember you, and yeah, what is the bigger vision that you see for your future?
The vision that I see is, you know, it doesn't have a size, to be honest. Because even if I can serve people with the skills that I have, I'm happy with it, you know. And I think the problem that many of us face is that we think way too big sometimes. We think about, oh, I want to, you know, I want to do this much for the people so that I can be remembered in such way. But that kind of puts it in the sort of a framework, right?
Yeah.
But I believe that, you know, you and I, we both understand the concept of service. You know, we're all, you know, the service. We are here to serve the people as well as serving God, right? And that we should never forget that main purpose. So, in the future, I wish nothing but to be remembered as, you know, open-hearted, a person who is willing to help other people with whatever the resources that I have, and of course the person who dedicated his life and his talent and music and everything that he knows about in the cultural identity, without losing the solid foundation that I've built for myself in Western classical music. So yeah, generally I want to serve people with music and art, and that's as simple as it gets, because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. You know, I want to promise little but deliver more, basically.
Yeah.
So that's my.
That's very simple, like serving people, but I feel like it has such a big, you know, responsibility as well.
Yes.
And I've read a lot of books, I've listened to a lot of podcasts where people say if you really want to feel happy, you need to serve people. You
You're
need
right.
to feel that, you know, responsibility and serving something. It can be anything.
Yeah.
You know, it can start with your own family, and then it can go to grow bigger, you know, to the community and
Yes.
other things. So it's a great thing, and I know that my understanding of happiness is serving other people. What is happiness for you?
The happiness is seeing the smile on other people's face when you sing, when you perform, and after you do it, after you sing and after you perform, you're seeing either happy tears. Actually, that was one of the occasions that I faced when I was traveling in Canada. We were just sitting in a little social gathering event. I played a little bit of guitar, and I started singing this culturally, like very folklore tune to this gentleman in front of me, probably in his 40s, 50s maybe. And as I was singing, he wore glasses, of course. As I was singing, I see like the tears dropping. You know, Uyghur. You know, he's Uyghur, and I didn't stop. Why? Because I know that it's a tear of happiness and tear of joy, because these people, they cannot, just like me, they cannot go back home. So listening to listening to these art and music from me performed to its best, in my opinion, and then seeing people being happy and smile and dance sometimes, having them dance, sing together. That's right now, that is what I call happiness. Of course, we think of health, obviously. But yeah, that's, if I had to label two things, one of them is health, the other one is seeing other people happy from the action that you take.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
I had some of the times where I was crying when I was listening to music or someone perform, and that's amazing to hear, because someone who is creating that art is actually appreciating the reaction they're getting from the audience, and it's very nice to hear.
Thanks.
I would want to complete. I don't want to complete this conversation because I really enjoy this, but
Me
we have
too,
this time
yeah.
limitation.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions that I have in my head is, right now, I mean, I really hope that someday, you get a chance to go back to your hometown, home country, and see the family. But inshallah, this is really hard when you don't see the family. This is a really hard thing, because I had that feeling too. I mean, I didn't have that political situation, of course, fortunately. But unfortunately, for some of the people like you, there are a lot of people like you as well, like from the community, Uyghur Turkish community. They cannot go back to the country and see the families. I was always, questioning how do they stay so strong? Like, what keeps them motivated or hopeful, or is it the hope that maybe one day something changes, but because we are human beings, right?
Absolutely.
You can be strong, you can be hopeful, but sometimes there are moments where you just probably lose that hope. How do you come across these kind of struggles, and how do you overcome those? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I went through some kind of an edgy decision about whether to continue living or not continue to living. Everybody comes through that point in life where they're like, what am I doing here? Should I continue or should I not continue? Yeah, I've been there. But we, in our Uyghur proverbs, we have a phrase called Adem bilen Adem buldu. It's like a human can become a human because of another human. So it's the connection and relationship that you built with the people around you, and the people who value you for who you are, rather than asking you to be someone else in order to fit their condition and agendas, right? So I have people like that in my life, like my own family. They treat me like my own family. And in front of them, I don't have to pretend to be someone else, And I think having these type of healthy, open-minded people that also also loves to serve others, just as much as yourself, that's really important. And I'm very thankful that I have those people in my life, and that has continuously driven me to explore, conduct research, practice, teach, live the life to the fullest. And yeah, and this is the best I could ask for. And that would be my answer. I
Yeah.
could not have survived all of this alone.
Yeah.
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 People need people,
Absolutely.
as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, I really honestly enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. Me too.
Thank you so much
Me
for
too, me too.
sharing your journey, your insights. It was a pleasure, and I
you,
know,
likewise.
and I'm sure that our listeners will walk away feeling more inspired,
I hope so too.
more warm in the
Mhm.
heart. I feel like, and maybe more a little bit musically inclined.
I'm sure they will.
Yes, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. Thank you,
For
my
our
pleasure.
listeners, thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay empowered, to hear more stories like this that will inspire you and keep you motivated and push through even though there are different struggles and situations. So until next time, see you. Bye bye.
Ooh.